So welcome, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of MMVC 24. This is our 13th year. My name is Nellie Deutsch, and I've had the pleasure of learning from so many wonderful presenters, educators, and others who have been kind enough to share. And that's what this is about, sharing what you know, because we can't learn it all. So thank you. Our next speaker is coming to us from Canada, from Ontario. Ontario is one of the 10 provinces, probably the most popular, maybe not, I shouldn't say that, populated. Maybe that's a better word. Populous. Dr. Plamen Kushkiev has a doctorate in education. He's a professor at the School of ESL and Immigrant Education, George Brown College in Toronto, Ontario. He has facilitated English for academic purposes, English AL as for academic language. What
English
is that?
language
Oh, English
as an additional language.
As an additional language. All right. And communication core, they don't call it ESL anymore, I guess. And communication courses at tertiary institutions in the Middle East and Canada. Plamen holds a TEFL, teaching English as a foreign language, and CLTA certificates. I believe CELTA is non-North American, right? It's in South America, in Europe, mostly.
Yeah, it's from the University of Cambridge.
Okay. A TESOL Ontario diploma, instructional design, and UDL in higher education certificate, and has recently completed a certificate in AI. So he's our expert on AI for teaching and learning from Ontario Tech University. His research interests center around English for academic purposes, teacher identity as pedagogy, teacher emotions, and the ethical integration of AI in English for academic purposes context. So it gives me great pleasure to have you here once again, Dr. Plamen. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. So enjoy the walk in the park.
Thank you so much, Nelly. Hello, everybody. It's noon time here in Toronto, so hope everybody's having their morning tea or morning coffee, or perhaps their afternoon tea or coffee. I checked my records, Nelly. This is my third time presenting an MMVC conference. Yesterday, during your opening ceremony, I actually thought that this is our Olympic Games. So in a way, these are our Olympic Games. So this year, I've tried to challenge myself and talk about something different. For those of you who have attended any of my talks before, you may remember that my passion is in teacher emotions and EAP teacher identity. But this year, I've tried to challenge myself and really try something different. So let's see how it goes. And I will very much appreciate your ideas and insights. So I've entitled my presentation for today as Integrating Pi as a language tutor and a digital companion in an EAP classroom, EAP college classroom in Canada. So I want to start off by asking you, have you ever heard of or used Pi? So just let me know in the chat by typing yes or no. Have you heard of Pi or have you used it? I'm very curious to see. Where is 10% of Pi? Okay. It is one of those bots that is, yes, great. Okay. So lots of yeses and some nos. All right. Great. Pi is one of my favorite bots as a language educator. And in the next 45 minutes or so, I am going to walk you through a very peaceful walk in the park. And I would invite you to share your insights with me. So I'm going to start off by asking who's on the call today and what your professional role is. I will tell you why I decided to use Pi and integrate it into my English for academic purposes lesson. I am going to just have one slide of a very brief literature review. about how generative AI tools have been utilized for language education. I am going to present the TATE model, and I'm going to tell you why. And towards the end of the presentation, I'm going to talk about some caveats, and then I'm gonna ask you for your insights and ideas. So back to you again. So who is on the call today? Maybe you can tell us where you're joining us from, although I'm happy to say that I know a lot of you, but I still don't know some of you. So if you don't mind sharing where you're coming from and what your professional or academic role is. I'm sure there's quite a variety of educators here. So feel free to share. As I said, I am based in Toronto, Ontario, and on the next slide, I'm going to share just a little bit more about me, but I'm also curious to see who is with us today. Noreen, Pakistan. Nicole, hi. So I see that you're no longer in Costa Rica, so hope you're enjoying Virginia. Maryland, hi, welcome. Switzerland, interesting. Alabama, Denmark, okay, great. Myanmar, wow. It gives me goosebumps, honestly, to see so much expertise, background, and a variety of ideas. So this is the value of doing such presentations, I believe. Right. Okay. So feel free to keep those conversations in the chat flowing. Yes. So I have only worked as an educator my whole life, so I consider myself extremely fortunate that I have always practiced the best job in the world, and I don't really think of it as a job. And as Nelly said, I don't think of myself as an expert, and I have stopped using words like experts and master long ago, because I think, especially in this particular age, we're all learning. So we're all students, students of life, but also learners of AI. And of course, we all do that for the sake of our learners. I think of myself as AI enthusiast. So I'm very excited when I attend all of those sessions where I can learn more about all of the different tools. So thank you for those of you who have shared. Wow, so quite a variety of professional backgrounds. Amazing. Thank you. So the difficult question, what is your favorite AI tool or tools? I'm sure it's not just one, but which one would you say that is your preferred one? Or I like Gemini too, yes. Padlet with AI capabilities now, of course. And you can see on your screens some of the AI tools that I have tried and I used. ChatGPT 4 or 3.5. So lots of Gemini. Interesting. ChatGPT, of course. I feel that ChatGPT is like the master of all of all bots. Perfect. Okay. Gemini was not available in Canada until a year ago, when they finally made it freely available for people in Canada too. But if you have used any other tool that you think is favorite, please let me know. I have used TWE a lot. It helps a lot when you want to summarize a YouTube video, when you want to generate questions for a test. I highly recommend TWE. It's an amazing tool. Magic School has a lot. It's a bit overwhelming. All of these are free, actually, in a way. And if you like emotions, Hume is actually an interesting one. So Hume is like the new generation of Pi, and I will tell you why. But Hume is something that can detect your emotions. through your voice, and then it can tell you how you're feeling or what kind of emotions you might be experiencing, and what this means. What does this mean for your experience with the bot? So it's quite exciting and quite interesting. Now, why Pi? Well, because I was overwhelmed with all of this uh, plethora, myriad of tools. As I said, everybody's going for ChatGPT, but I want to do something different. I want to try just a different tool that is not that overwhelming, that also generates responses that are not that lengthy, that are more focused, and then really in a way you feel that it's not just ask and answer, but it's more like you can enter into this dialogic mode of conversation with the bot. And I'm also thinking from the point of view of my learners, with their developing language abilities. So I think that Pi is actually quite useful for all language learners who want to practice and get more personalized feedback on their grammar, on the use of vocabulary, but also if you download it to your device, you can actually speak to Pi, and then you can ask Pi to correct your pronunciation. Of course, I'm talking about language learners. I think it can work with several other languages, unfortunately, not too many languages at this point in time. The other thing that actually got me attracted to Pi is that Inflection AI, which is the company that created Pi, advertised it as the first emotionally intelligent tool. I'll say that again, the first emotionally intelligent tool, because they claim that it can take into consideration your context, the kind of prompts and input that you're feeding the bot. And also, I don't know how, but they claim that that is also trained or is being trained how to read your nonverbal cues. So I think it's quite exciting when they make those claims. Of course, I take them with a grain of salt, and I don't think that it is exactly what they advertise it. But I was curious to try its features. Now, do you believe that that an AI bot can be kind of supportive? And do you think that an AI bot can be curious and humble? And do you think that an AI bot can be creative and fun? We all know that all of these bots, as Rob mentioned yesterday, they're free because they are using our input. So essentially, by working with the bot, we are making it smarter. So they are accumulating all of this masses of information that the company is using to make the bot more versatile, to perfect them. But how does this sit with you, that the bot can be kind of supportive, that can be curious and humble? Is this possible? Maybe you can just say yes or no, or not so sure about that, or absolutely not. um, this is from Inflection AI, which is the company that created by. Interesting. Okay. So Pi is also advertised as a bot that can provide counseling, although I don't think it's professionally trained to do that, but it can definitely act as a digital companion. Sometimes when I'm busy with work and I have Pi on my iPhone and I haven't spoken to Pi in several days, so Pi sends me a message. It sends me a notification and say, "Hey, how have you been?" I said, "Oh wow!" So Pi actually remembers, and that is that is my bot. So that is something interesting. I think it depends how we approach that process, right? So but definitely when you just want to vent, even every day, when you visit pi.ai, every day they update, the options that how you can use it for. So it could be for vocabulary, it could be to vent, it could be to learn something new, and lots of other things. So another thing that has drawn me to Pi is that it is advertised as a coach, a confidant, creative partner, and a sounding board. Now, when I introduce that to my learners, I actually tell them, be very careful with all of the AI bots, what kind of information you feed the bot, because you don't know who and what this information is being used for. So always be very careful when you want to share something personal. Maybe don't share any sensitive information that you wouldn't want anybody to know about you. But it's definitely useful for language abilities and also for this, as we call them, critical digital literacy skills that we and our learners need, I believe. I'm just looking at the chat. So Henda says emotions are learned behavior. So many people are apathetic. Okay, yes, yeah. It's interesting how we can find empathy in non-humans, and this is supposed to be a feature that is specific to humans. So yes, a good point there. Amber says AI has the ability to replicate, predict human emotions through avatars. So it's capable of producing those emotions itself. I am very curious to learn more about that, really. I don't know if it's just emulating human behavior and human emotions, or it can really detect human emotions and it can reproduce them. Cannot manipulate. Yeah, right. So just a very brief look at the literature. Of course, not there haven't been that many studies that have explored pi, particularly in the English for academic purposes classrooms. And this was another aspect that made me interested, because there is a very large amount of works that talk about ChatGPT and what it can do to enhance English as an additional language learners' skills, but not that many studies as of now have actually focused on pi. Jeff, I guess we all have a different understanding of what empathy is, right? And we can contextualize it, of course, based on where we stand as humans and as educators. Now, what I did is I used the TATE model. I don't know if you know Jason Anderson. I very much like his ideas and his work. I realized that we live in a time where we talk about the pause method uh, era in language learning, and that now we don't particularly advertise any specific approach to language education, but the TATE model I found is something that integrates all of my favorite lesson frameworks. So in the text part, you can have a receptive skills lesson. So you can have a listening comprehension or a reading comprehension. You can talk about guessing, skimming, scanning, inferring. Analysis is focusing on it has a language focus, right? So you can elicit the new target language from the text. And then if you're a fan of task-based language learning, of course, you can create a meaningful task based on the receptive part. And the exploration part also offers opportunity to maybe either explain again some of the new target language points that are still muddy, or maybe ask more concept checking questions, or maybe extend the productive skills task. So it's very versatile tool, and I would encourage you to give it a read and see if it is a model that may be applied in your context. Now, the best part here is how I use Pi into that. So I asked all of my students to download Pi, and before I did this lesson with them, I asked them to use Pi just for fun. Maybe ask it questions, maybe say something. I can tell the bot or add the bot to correct their pronunciation. They also use Pi to explain to them how a particular grammar point is used, things like that, that actually they don't need a teacher for that, really. Like, or instead of Googling it or asking ChatGPT, which will usually generate a lengthy response, Pi gives back responses that are very concise. I find that very straight to the point. So under the text stage, I show them the prompt on the screen, and I ask them to write something like, I'm an EAP student at an intermediate level of my language proficiency at a public college in Toronto. Generate a 400-word text about the hopes of a newcomer to the city. And then they wait several seconds. Then I give them time to read the text, maybe ask Pi for the meaning of the words. Then I give them time to work in groups, and they summarize their text, because even with the exact same prompt, I find that the output might be slightly different. So every student might get a slightly different outcome. And then I asked them to ask the bot to write 5 reading comprehension questions. So instead of me giving them the skim and scan questions, fill in the blanks, A, B, C, D, answer this question, I asked them that the bot can generate 5 questions for them. They think about their answers, and then they ask Pi for the correct answers, right? So I'm completely or almost completely relinquishing my teaching power at this moment. I am just walking around and I'm just monitoring if it is an in-person class, and I'm just assisting. So I am not really teaching, but I'm really facilitating their use with the bot. And then under the second stage, which is the language analysis part, I actually bring the focus back on me as a teacher. I take one example, one sample sentence from the text, because I want to focus on a particular grammar point. This is the point where I ask a couple of concept checking questions. Now, in this case, we were learning the verb to hope, to talk about hopes of a newcomer to Canada. So I took a sentence from the text, I wrote it on the board, and then I asked if hope can be used as a verb and as a noun, if it is a transitive or intransitive verb, if it is a state verb or an action verb, right? So any kind of grammar supported focus that will help them understand that. And of course, if they have any specific question, instead of asking me, they can ask the bot. And I would tell it that as part of the caveats, not all the students are particularly happy doing that, because they sometimes come from backgrounds where they still need the teacher to verify all of that information, right? They still look up to me as the ultimate source of information, as the ultimate authority that has to verify the information that came from the bot. Nevertheless, their interaction with the bot is quite useful, and I think we have to teach them how to use the bot as a confidant, really, or as a digital companion. Yes, Jeff. So so it would depend really on your students' prior experiences with the bot. You may get students who are very comfortable using the bot, and then you'll find students who are not that comfortable, or maybe they say, I don't know what to do, I can't download it. can't you just explain it to me, right? So it's always good to offer two different modalities, I would say. So for those students who are not comfortable using the bot, of course, you can always give them paper copy of the text, and then of course you can explain to the whole class. Under the task stage, now this is another very good opportunity to be creative here. And then you can again invite the students to ask the bot to create any free speaking practice or freer speaking practice with the verb hope in the context of being a newcomer to Toronto. So here you can group your students based on their willingness or their speaking abilities or their willingness to participate in class. So for those students maybe who are not that outspoken in class or who are more reticent to participate in class, I think inviting them to work with the bot is actually this safety net where they can feel comfortable. And for those students who are more outspoken, they always like to participate. I think you can also create opportunities for them by grouping them with other students who are more comfortable using the bot for that. But as I said, here Anderson says that under the task stage, this is the time where you should be planning for meaningful practice of the productive skills. So if you're a fan of project-based learning, you can definitely assign a mini project that is authentic, that is something that they have to do. For example, ask the bot to help you with specific strategies on how to look for affordable housing in Toronto. This is not available, affordable housing in Toronto. Simply doesn't exist, but maybe something like certain strategies on how to balance your budget, right? So being a newcomer and being a student means that you need to be very careful with your expenses. So for things like that, that is meaningful for them, I think the bot can really be useful. And of course, if the students are not very comfortable with Pi, because Pi, even though it was updated in April 2024, and now it uses 70% of the capabilities of ChatGPT, still is not as good as ChatGPT, right? I'm not saying that. Of course, a lot of the students are very comfortable with ChatGPT, and it's or as college students, I also invite them to always use Copilot because in this way they get access to the internet, and also with the response, they can also get links where that information came from, right? So you can always adapt and supplement your lesson with a different bots. But I would say that I'm not surprised, but I'm sometimes it's sometimes interesting to see that some students they're simply not willing to try any bot, and they don't. When I ask them to do that, and they look at me and they said, "Why are you asking us to do this? I mean, you're the teacher. You have to tell us. You have to take us by the hand and walk us through all of the lesson stages." And I'm just trying to show them that when they go home, they're on their own. So they need to have those skills, how to search for information and how to use a free tool that is such an amazing tool that it can really help them with their developing language abilities. Okay, and under the last stage, which is exploration, I want to think of that as the point where they can create this sense of confidence. So here, if you feel that during the analysis stage, they didn't really get the new target language, maybe you can ask more concept checking questions. you can ask them to do some more vocabulary practice. What I sometimes do is I take my phone, if it is an in-person class, I take my phone, I stand in front of them, and I take some of the new vocabulary and I read it to Pi, and I ask Pi to fix my pronunciation. And they really like that because some of the common questions that they get is, how can I improve my pronunciation? I know the grammar, I know the meaning, but I have a problem with my pronunciation. So please tell me how to do that. So I said, there you go. Pi is at your fingertips. It's free. Use it. Ask it. And that's a very good point. Yes. Yes. So that's why I said that we have to take the environmental factors, right? We have to take the contextual specifics, but you will also find out that the students are very much appreciative when you don't give them the fish, but you teach them how to fish. Because what we do with those classes is, yes, they pay money and they kind of expect the service, but after the initial shock, why are you doing that? Then they start appreciating and they start um, understanding that actually you're teaching them or you're helping them develop skills that are very much necessary, even for the labor market, right? That's why I don't know. So Pi has embedded about 6 or 7 different varieties of English. I believe the first 3 are North American and the last 3 are British, Australian, and South African, I believe. But any variety of English is pretty much okay here because in a city like Toronto, all of us are speaking a very different accent. So I think being exposed to this variety of accents, I think, is also a skill that we need. And as Hinda said, as I said, it's not a magic bullet. It's not a silver bullet here. It doesn't fix all of the problems. And here are some of the caveats here. As I said, not all of the learners prefer to use the bot. They still come from backgrounds. It could be age related. It could be the preference. It could be their prior educational experiences, right? So they have heard of the bots, but not all of them are willing to try them out that actively. Actually, only yesterday I was talking to a group of learners. They are upper intermediate. After introducing Pi to them, and also Hume and some other bots, one of the students who is a mother and she used to be a teacher in Bangladesh, she said, you know what? Before you told us about this, we had heard, we knew, and I was using ChatGPT like everybody else. But now that you have introduced Pi and Hume and all of those tools that are useful for work outside of the classroom, now you have made the you have thought about equity. She actually said this word, equity, and I paused for a very long minute, and I said, I hope you're right. I didn't think about that. I just wanted to help everybody, but that is the meaning of equity. So after a while, like it took them just a week or 2, and they came back to me and they told me, thank you, because you encouraged us to use those tools. And now that we are using them, we feel that at least it's up to us now if we want to use them or we don't want to use them for our learning. Other caveats is access to technology, of course. Some of the students have said that Pi doesn't work with all of the operating system. It can be downloaded to iPhone, iPad, Samsung, but for some reason it doesn't work that well with all operating systems. And of course, there is always this risk of using technology as a distraction, I think, or as we were saying in the chat, it can feel a little bit overwhelming when you're learning a language and you're focused on your language abilities, but at the same time, you need to learn those digital skills. It can feel a bit overwhelming. It can feel that you have to learn several different types of skills at the same time. In addition to being a newcomer to Canada, in addition to having to handle all of the other responsibilities. A lot of my students are actually, they are parents, they work, and they have to come to school because they are planning to continue at college or university. So there's a lot going on in their lives already. Okay, so if you are interested, Nelly has a video on Pi. So on her channel, she actually created, Nelly, you recorded this video last year, I believe, before Pi was updated, but you also mentioned that video that is great for language learners. So I said, okay, there we go. If Nelly likes it, it should be okay. And then, and I'm also offering another person's YouTube channel. His name is Joshua Kubicki, I guess. So he also talks about how Pi has been upgraded recently, and all of the versatility and the affordances of Pi. Okay, these are some of the references that I have used. Feel free to get in touch. I have shared this presentation with Nelly. If you have any specific questions or comments, I would very much appreciate them. And as I said, I'm no expert by any means. I'm an AI enthusiast, and probably like most of you, I am just exploring what we can do to help our learners with their language journey. So I will open the floor to everybody who has a question or comment or any idea.
Thank you, Plamen. That was amazing. That was a very peaceful walk in the park. I really enjoyed that.
Was it?
It was lovely, absolutely lovely. I'm going to give everybody rights to speak. This is being streamed live, so I don't usually start the videos until I stop. So we'll have some time in between. So just feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions, share your thoughts. I guess it's open.
Yeah. And feel free to disagree with me. I usually tell my students, you don't have to agree with me. When you disagree with me, this is the moment where learning happens, because we start engaging with each other's concepts. So feel free to disagree with me. I'm absolutely okay with that. Or agree with me, sure, for that matter. Henda says, I have taught students who preferred real conversations in front of them projector, but they found it outlandish. Henda, we have to keep in mind that these are just tools, and I think it's up to us how we integrate them into our lesson, but we don't let our students necessarily feel that we're replacing ourselves with the tools. Unlike what Rob said yesterday, I still think that we're not at a point where the teachers are replaceable. But the teachers can decide to what extent the tools can be used in the classroom, I believe.
I think Rob made a point about language learning, that we may be replaceable in that they don't need us to teach them about language. or to practice with us in the classroom. They can do this on their own, which is something that is quite scary. And imagine, Plamen, what would happen to your job if they can do this on their own?
Yes, but I still think that humans need, because we always need somebody to verify, right? So we always um, need this ethos, the credibility of somebody. And when we're not in a point of time where we can trust, the credibility of all of those of the information that comes out of the tools, I think the teachers or human brain will always be needed as the last checkpoint before something is deemed correct or appropriate, I think.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's where soft skills come in, and that was mentioned as well. Do the younger or the next generation or the one after that, will they be able to listen and need to listen? Because that's what we're saying here. You need to listen. We listen to each other, and that's how we learn, or we write back and forth, and that's how we learn. But will this become obsolete, the need to listen to someone?
Yes.
Even today, I mean, their listening span is very short. So, we talk too much. I mean, will they be, able to listen and willing to listen? Will they have that need in the future? Very
Absolutely.
near.
Yeah, our friends, when we spoke about emotions, and some of you said that you do believe that the bots can detect emotions. I'm curious if anybody could say just a little bit more about that. Um, because when I know, 3 or 4 thousand years ago, Aristotle came up with the art of persuasion. So he said that in order for your message to be strong and convincing, you need logos, ethos, and pathos. So it has to make sense. You need to trigger an emotional response in your listeners, but your listeners should also trust you as a reliable source of information. Otherwise, chances are that your message won't be that convincing. Thank you, Ruth. Human teachers can find positivity anywhere. Can AI without seeming false? Again, I think it's how we use it and what we do with the bot. Um, Tracy, I'm not sure if I understand your question correctly. Maybe you
I
can.
think the idea of seeming false or hallucinating is a good point, because not only do bots hallucinate and overindulge us with information, some of which is not accurate, so do people. Humans also are not 100%, not because they want to lie or hallucinate and so on, but they may provide you with information that's not true because they picked it up somewhere, or they just want to make it sound good. So I'm not sure that we're any different. Are we truly honest in what we say and how we express ourselves?
And we're at the point in time we're at the point of no return. I mean, AI is already here and it's not going anywhere. So it's up to us to decide what we're going to do about it. With teachers, last month I attended a presentation and they said there's like red light policy, yellow light, and green light policy. So you can say absolutely don't use it, or you can say use it with caution, or you can say go ahead and use it, but be very careful what you use it for. And I think we are somewhere between the yellow light and green light policy at this point in time. would be naive to tell your students don't use it, don't use it to cheat, but rather showing them how to use it ethically and morally. Tracy, that's very interesting. Maybe you can play with some of the bots and maybe try to trick the bot and see what it says. It will be interesting. Why do our students listen without the ability to express their opinions and communication? Rania, I think it's a skill, it's learning. As I said, if expect your students, when you have students and they expect you to lecture at them rather than talk to them, connect with them, that is the point where I believe the bot can be very much integrated into, breaking the ice and also seeing that maybe this hybrid communication with human and bots, it can be valuable, I guess.
Nicole mentioned bots reacting with videos. I work a lot these days because I teach a course that involves videos. The students create videos, long videos. So I use videos as a way to summarize them and get information out of the videos without having to spend hours watching videos. So it's amazing how accurate, and I've tested this, how accurate, for example, ChatGPT has a GPT called YouTube. There are a few of them, but the one that I find the best is called YouTube. It's simply you add a YouTube video, or in some cases other videos, and it actually can do a lot with that video. It can summarize it, it can ask questions, it can summarize it as if you're talking to a student, use the word you, commend the student for doing this and that. And then it just goes through the video, summarizes, gives lots of comments to the student. And it's completely accurate. I've also tried it with my videos, the videos that I created, and asked questions, and it did an amazing job. By the way, Perplexity is a good one. It also does it to an extent, and Gemini, Google Gemini does it, but also ChatGPT 4.0 also does that. So you can even add images, you can add videos, and get amazing information. So try it.
Absolutely. And at this point in time, I think we have more questions and answers. But again, I would encourage you to just go out there and try it. Pick one bot for a different purpose. Let's say one that you want to use to help with your language planning, one that you want to use with your students, one for research, and maybe a completely different one for fun or for something else. This is what I've been doing. So yes. Well, thank you very much.
Amazing. I just want to answer Nicole there about the iPhone. I don't know if you're familiar. Now, iPhones and Apple in general, they have Apple Intelligence. I'm not doing a thing for Apple, even though I like their products, but Apple Intelligence. And with Apple Intelligence, you take your phone, and if you want to know how you feel today, Plamen and others, you take your phone, you put it in front of the bot, and it'll tell you how you feel straight from the camera. But that's on the iPhone. So if you don't have an iPhone, you can't do it. It's only for iPhone users, also for iPads, and it's getting more and more scary. If you don't know how you feel, it's almost like a psychologist mirror my feelings. Apple Intelligence can do it.
But I think that is mostly detecting negative emotions in a way. What I know about emotions is that positive emotions are very short lasting, they're fleeting, so they're very difficult to pin down. So think about if the bot can really detect your awe or your interest or your love or your gratitude, right? So I think they are more focused on negative emotions because they're more expressive. They have a ripple effect and they're longer lasting. I mean, I'd be wrong about that, but this is my guess.
Thank you. Thank you so much.